All right, we'll talk about the college football playoffs. The bookmakers don't think these are going to be competitive games. This, according to DraftKings this morning. Indiana against Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Indiana's getting 7.5. SMU is getting 9 at Penn State. Clemson getting 11 at Texas. And then Tennessee getting 7.5 against Ohio State. By the way, odds to win the national title. We have co-favorites to win the national title. Oregon and Texas are your co-favorites this morning, followed by Georgia, Ohio State, and then Penn State. If I would have said to you in September, hey, Arizona State's going to be in, Clemson's going to be in, SMU's going to be in, Boise State's going to be in, Indiana's going to be in, you'd go, wait, basketball? No, football. Because Clemson got roughed up early. Remember that? Georgia roughed them up, and then we moved on from Clemson. Well, all you have to do is win your conference. I mean, I don't know if Clemson's any good, but they won their conference, so they're in. SMU survived, and I say survived so they could get in because they scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. If they do not score those 17, if they score 7, I don't think they're in the playoffs. And I will sit corrected. I didn't think the committee was going to leave Alabama out. And I'm not alone in that. But it was an interesting conversation they had to have with Alabama didn't get in. Why didn't they get in? They talk about strength of schedule. Well, when you get embarrassed, you got embarrassed against Vandy, you got embarrassed against Oklahoma. Just win. That's what this is all about. Arizona State, I think, was picked for last in the Big 12. They're a good team. They roughed up Iowa State. Boise State gets a bye. Indiana in at Notre Dame. But we're going to be talking about this, and I think we had to go through this process for 1 year. Now I think they're going to tweak what you have to do, where the seedings are, first round bye. This is where you just say, okay, let's see how this plays out. Let's see where some of the sensitive points are that we can correct. And I still maintain, if you're going to do 12 teams, you win your conference, you get in. But that doesn't mean that you get a first-round bye. Boise State shouldn't get a first-round bye. Arizona State shouldn't get a first-round bye. I think it should be win your conference. Now we start to seed this. That's what happens with the basketball tournament. You're not guaranteed a number one seed because you win the ACC or the SEC. And I think that's what they need to do is Boise State, I'm glad they're in. Arizona State, I'm glad they're in. But then after that, I think you got to be fair to strength of schedule. And that's where I think that if you go with rankings, then I think you get a truer sense of how good teams are, what they did during the course of a year. And if you had 2 losses, maybe 3, what was your strength of schedule? This is what I worry about. And you already have athletic directors talking about this. Well, we're going to really look at, out-of-conference scheduling. Because there's no reason to do something out of conference and run the risk of losing. If you lose more than 2 games, you're not getting in. Or it's really going to be difficult. Clemson didn't play anybody. Clemson won the ACC. That's all you have to do. Arizona State, just win your conference. Boise State, win your conference. You're in. But then after that, I think you need to have reseeding or seeding. I can't be giving these schools at first-round bye. I don't think that's fair to the other conferences and the strength of schedule that they may have. It's going to be tweaked. It's not perfect, and maybe eventually we get to what are we doing? Why don't we just make this a pro model, and there's going to be a certain number of schools that are going to play, and there'll be schools maybe get relegated. Whatever you want to do with it, we're heading that way. It's almost like when we had 1 versus 2, and then we said, how about 2 more teams? Is that a lot? And then all of a sudden, we had co-national champs a long, long time ago. I mean, co-national champs. Do you imagine if we had co-national champs now? Hey, Georgia Tech and Colorado are co-national champs. Huh? But we had that. There's so much more attached to this, so many more people, so much more money attached to this. And that's why I think they'll get around to tweaking this a little bit more. And next year, you'll probably have something along the lines of what I've been talking about. I have somebody who is close to the committee, and they've told me that this, of course, is a topic of conversation. Whether it gets enacted next year, because I was told, hey, 14, maybe next year, but probably going to be the following season where you'll have 14 schools instead of 12. Let's see how this plays out. It looks fun. It sounds fun. Would I have liked Alabama and South Bend? Yes, I would have. That would have been great. Tennessee, I love that against Ohio State. I mean, there's matchups where you go, all right, like Clemson's in, and you get Texas. But it almost feels like Oregon would have been better off losing the Big Ten title game. I didn't think that they treated Oregon fairly there. And Penn State, they look pretty good. That's the first time where I go, okay, competitive, neutral field, and maybe they will be a tough out. But I think the first round bye bothers people probably more than anything else involved in this, because you're looking at Boise State and Arizona State and you're going, really? Yeah, but that's the system this year.